buzzer took a monkey for a ride in the air. The monkey thought that everything was on the square. The buzzer tried to throw the monkey off his back, but the monkey grabbed his neck and said, "Now listen, Jack, straighten up and fly right."
Welcome back to Fireside Chats with SS Grandma week number 10. Grandma's going to take us back to the mining days where Beepops used to be a brawler.
Well, I don't know. Those of you that knew Beepops, I don't know if you ever noticed the big scar on his neck. Well, the story of that is one day a bunch of them were on the steps of the saloon and just having a nice little chat as they usually do, arguing, the miners. And one of the miners, well, he wasn't really a miner, but he was always the sort of the fat guy standing back and wasn't too popular. So they were arguing about something. And all of a sudden, what was his name, Bill, I think, leaped forward and slashed Beepop in the neck and cut the artery to his brain. Well, luckily, Will Penny, who was sort of a medic of mine, along with everything else, saw it and grabbed both ends of the blood vessel and held it and yelled for somebody to get to the doctor. Well, they got the doctor and he stitched the blood vessel together. And pretty soon there was a knock on the door of Mummy's house. And here they came with Beepops. I think he's on a door. "Here's your hubby." And put him to bed. And she had to nurse him back to health. He was a tough little Scotsman. One time they brought him what they call the ringer from another mine that was a really good fighter. And Stan said he went by the pool hall, that's what they called it, not the saloon, the pool hall. And walked in, there was blood everywhere. And the guy in there said, "That's not your dad's blood." The ringer. He was a tough guy. But yet I always found him, he was a gentleman. No, really, he was. The only way he could talk was really with his fists. He just went to the 3rd grade and, he wasn't a great talker, but boy, he could talk with his fists or his athletic ability. There was quite a scar on his neck where Bill had cut him. And after that, Stan didn't have too much to do with that family. And when they'd stop on the road to offer him a ride when he was going to school, he'd say, "I wouldn't get in the car for you if I was dying." He'd turn and walk away. And the guy would drive off. But Beepop survived a lot of things. I think he had 9 lives, like a cat.
Do you know if anything ever came out of that from the law? Did he get in trouble for slashing him?
He didn't sue people. And nobody did anything about it. You just were sort of not very friendly after that.
So moving from those intense times, eventually things settled down in America and people became artists, and that brings us to our next topic. Take us back to the early days of Uncle Mark, the world-renowned artist.
One day, I was at school picking up the kids, and Sister Mary told me, "Mrs. Smith, I want to talk to you." "Oh, yes, Sister." Mark was in her 3rd grade class, and she said, "Mrs. Smith, I told the children to draw what they draw this. Do you know what your son drew?" "No, Sister. He drew girls in bikinis." And I'm sure they were very good. And I looked at her and said, "Oh, wait a minute, Sister. He's not a pervert. His 2 older sisters are doing paper dolls. He's just doing what the kids were doing at home." And she looked at me and said, "Well, having draw cars." I said, "Yes, Sister." Didn't think too much about it at all after that. And then when he got transferred to the junior high in the public school, we went to talk to the teacher like he used to do at night. And they had a meeting in the auditorium, and we were talking to his teacher. And she said, do you want to see what your Mark did? And we said, yes. And she said, look up on the stage. And there was a big banner across the whole stage. And it was the drawing that Michelangelo did, where God reaches down into Adam. Very famous painting. And I looked at that amazed, and she said, your Mark did that. And we were just, both of us flabbergasted. Thank God for good teachers. She could see all his artistic talent. And he went on from there, and he'll tell you more about it later.
So Uncle Mark may join us and tell us some stories about his art in future episodes. Sticking with the theme of school, Great Grandma's going to take us back to Great Grandpa's college days.
Loved going to college and was a good student. He ended up, when he graduated, a scholar athlete from Loyola. And that's how he met me. And I met him.
Do you know anything about his graduation and the end of his college days? Do you have a big celebration?
Well, not too much. His family went, and I wore my sister's dress. We each had one good dress, so I wore her dress to his graduation. We trade dresses a lot in those days. He didn't have a lot of clothes. But his family was there, and I was there, and he did very well. But that he was allowed to graduate. He enlisted in the Navy in December 8th of 1941, and they allowed him to graduate in May because he was a senior, because they wanted officers. So he was very lucky. He was a senior when the war started. So he was allowed to graduate and then join the Navy, go on to the Navy. And they always let him out early so they'd get all the jobs at Christmas. Those Jesuits are pretty good to their students.
And then did he continue school at any point after that, or he just went to the war? And
when he came home from the war, he did go on to SC and get his master's degree in education. He got a degree in education from Loyola. And on to SC after the war, night school, and got his master's degree.
how long did that take him?
Well, probably a year or more. Just going nights, because he was teaching school, coaching. He was allowed to teach without a master's degree, but he wanted to go on and get more. He even got an administrative degree, but he was so interested in coaching by then that he didn't go on and become an administrator.
Well, this has been week number 10 by the fire, a very special episode with Great Grandma, and we'll be back for week number 11 next time.
The buzzer told the monkey, you are choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free. The monkey looked the buzzer right dead in the eye and said, your story is so touching, but it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down.